The great misunderstanding in modern business is treating order management as just admin work, right? Typing orders, answering emails, constantly putting out fires. But here's the new reality. Your customer never experiences your company through your internal org charts. Not ever. They experience your company through your promises. And those promises? They are managed right here. Order management actually lives at the absolute center of customer pressure, expectations, and trust. So while procurement is off negotiating and manufacturing is running the factories, order management is the strategic, customer-facing control tower coordinating the whole shebang.
And really, we have to anchor our entire thinking here with this classic Sam Walton quote: "There is only one boss, the customer." Now, that sounds incredibly simple on the surface, maybe even a bit cliche, but it fundamentally changes how we have to think about the supply chain. We've got to ground ourselves in this, because honestly, customers do not care about our internal ERP failures. They don't care about our supplier shortages, or our planning conflicts, or transportation delays. When it comes down to it, they only care about one single question: can I trust your company? Trust is literally the most valuable currency in business, and every broken promise or internal excuse chips away at that trust.
Now, a lot of companies fall into this massive trap. I call it the illusion of being nice. They think customer centricity is basically just theater, politely apologizing, sending super professional emails, and just saying yes to absolutely everything. But let's be real, that is reaction, not customer centricity. Genuine customer centricity is the intelligent balancing of operational reality with customer expectations. It takes realistic commitments, highly proactive communication, and strategic decision-making. Order management is constantly having to balance customer satisfaction against operational capability, profitability, and supply chain stability. It is an absolute high-wire act, and it requires deep intelligence, not just emotion.
Let's break this down a bit more. If you segment your customers, you generally get three types: the ones who complain, the ones who praise, and the silent ones. Think about that silent segment for a second. They are by far your highest risk. Why? Because an angry customer is still giving you feedback. A satisfied customer gives you loyalty. But the silent customer, they just disappear. There's no escalation, no warning signs, no second chances. They leave without ever telling you why.
So because of that massive silent risk, a truly strategic order management team actually becomes the ears of the entire company. They are perfectly positioned to pick up on those early warning signals from the silent majority. They're the ones who can spot the patterns of repeated delays, communication failures, that growing frustration, and subtle drops in service. They become your ultimate intelligence gatherers, recognizing disengagement patterns way before actual turn happens. Look, if you're just sitting around waiting for a customer to complain, you are already way too late.
Which brings us to OTIF, on time in full. Now on paper, the formula looks like pretty basic math, right? Orders delivered on time and in full divided by total orders. But in the real world, it's a critical strategic diagnostic tool. When OTIF drops, it's screaming that something much deeper inside your system is fundamentally broken. OTIF isn't just a logistics score, it is the ultimate health metric for your entire supply chain. And order management, they're the ones responsible for diagnosing the disease, not just putting a Band-Aid on the symptom.
Let's actually drill down into a real-world scenario using the 5 whys method. Okay, so a customer gets an order late. Why? Well, no finished goods inventory. Why? There's no inventory policy. Why? High demand volatility. Why? The product was highly customized. Why? Because customization created higher margins and competitive differentiation. Boom! When you track a late order back to its root cause like that, you suddenly realize this was never an operational failure at all. The company made a strategic commercial decision to chase high-margin customization, but they never redesigned the supply chain strategy to handle that volatility. Order management exposes these strategic misalignments between commercial goals and supply chain realities faster than anyone else in the building.
And this brings us to what I love to call the great contradiction of the supply chain. It's this wild psychological dynamic. Think about it. When we are the customers to our own suppliers, we demand absolute perfection. Flawless OTF, total responsiveness, complete reliability. But flip it around. When we are the suppliers to our own customers, we tend to operate in these departmental silos and sometimes create the exact frustrations we absolutely hate experiencing ourselves. Perfection doesn't exist, sure, but accountability absolutely must. We just cannot operate in silos if we want to deliver the level of service we expect from everyone else.
So, how do we break this contradiction? Well, this is where we turn to the proprietary framework developed by SupplyAxis. The whole goal of this methodology is to push elite organizations way past simply saying, hey, we apologize for the inconvenience. That is a totally reactive mindset. The Supplyaxis perspective pushes companies to ask entirely different, much harder questions. Why did this happen? Who actually owns the root cause? How do we prevent this permanently? Because you have to remember, customer loyalty is never created by apologies. It's created by unshakable reliability and continuous improvement.
All right, let's unpack the actual target state framework. How do we pull this off? Supplyaxis lays out 5 foundational actions to build a truly customer-centric supply chain. These are the rapid, totally essential steps that will take order management from that old administrative desk and transform it into a true executive-level control tower. Let's walk through them right now.
Action 1. You have to measure what truly matters. Yes, OTIF is absolutely crucial, but we also need to be tracking responsiveness, recovery speed, and communication quality, purely because metrics shape behavior. Then, Action 2. We must increase internal capillarity. That means building deep, interconnected pathways so order management is instantly connected with procurement, planning, and manufacturing. A customer's pain cannot just live as an order management problem. It has to become a visible organizational pain so that executive leadership feels it immediately.
Moving on to Action 3. Transforming complaints into actual intelligence. You can't just let complaints pile up in a spreadsheet somewhere and forget about them. You've got to analyze those recurring delays and, especially, those dangerous silent trends we talked about earlier. Silence is very often the earliest signal of future revenue loss. Next, Action 4. Avoid the wrong solution. When OTIF drops, what do companies do? They panic. They just throw expensive inventory at the problem. But inventory is incredibly expensive. Intelligence is way more valuable. Often, your real issue is just poor forecasting or an unreliable supplier, not a lack of stock.
And finally, Action 5, activating cross-functional problem solving. Guys, this one is literally non-negotiable. When a delay happens, it's got to be a war room scenario. Procurement has to be involved if suppliers fail, planning if forecasting fails, logistics if transport fails. Every department has to collaborate in real time. Why? Because as we established right at the beginning, every single one of those departments shares the exact same boss, the customer. A great customer experience is only created by the precise synchronization of all these functions working as one.
I want to leave you with this final, absolutely critical thought to chew on regarding your own organization. In business, sustainable growth doesn't just happen when you make the sale. It happens post-sales. Loyalty is what creates profitability and long-term resilience. Think about it. A reputation takes years of hard work to build, but literally seconds to destroy. One ignored customer, one repeated failure, and poof, trust disappears. Customer centricity isn't just some nice corporate slogan for a poster. It is a business survival strategy. So the question you really have to ask yourself today is your order management just a silo, or is it the strategic pillar protecting your survival?